I always thought the scariest thing was death, but I was wrong. Death is release. The real horror is when you're alive, but something is already living inside you. I was staying at a motel called Eagle's Rest. Off the highway between Utah and Nevada, an old, two-story dump with a peeling sign that only blinked. 2 letters, E and R. I was on the road. My old Chevy had overheated, so I had to pull over for the night. Behind the desk stood an elderly woman who looked like life had forced her to forget how to feel. She barely raised her eyes when I asked for a room. "Just not 313, she mumbled. "What?" I asked. "Nothing. 314 is available." For some reason, I asked, "What's wrong with 313? She looked directly at me for the first time, and her gaze was hollow, but she just said, "That room hasn't been open for years. The windows are boarded up. Just take 314. I agreed, but when she handed me the key, I noticed something. There was another one on the ring, rusty with a red tag. 313. I hadn't asked for it, but it was on my keychain anyway. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing dripping through the wall like someone had left a faucet on next door. But in the morning, the woman at the desk said no other rooms were occupied. Only mine. That evening, I gave in. I was scared, but something was pulling me like the building itself was breathing, whispering into my ear, "You want to know? Open it." The key to room 313 fit perfectly. The lock clicked with a harsh metallic screech, and the door creaked open slowly. The first thing I noticed was the stench damp. Rotting things, like the room had been sealed for decades. The air was thick, syrupy, heavy. I turned on my phone's flashlight. The walls were stripped, the wallpaper covered in what looked like scratches or writing, but the words seemed to move, to shift, unreadable. On the bed, a blanket was folded, but clearly showed impressions like someone had been sitting there, pressed deep into the mattress. And in the mirror above the vanity, my shadow didn't quite match me. Then I heard the knocking from inside the closet. I'm not joking. Slow, heavy, like something was scratching from inside. I thought maybe an animal had gotten in, or a homeless person. But when I opened the door, it was empty. Just an old rope belt hanging from the rack, and deep scratches along the inside of the closet walls. Later, when I stepped outside and tried to look at the room from the outside, I realized it had no windows. There was no space between rooms 312 and 314. Physically, room 313 didn't exist. But I had been inside it, and that night, it came to the room where I was sleeping. I don't remember much of the day after I saw the shadow in the mirror. Everything felt muffled, like the world had slipped behind a foggy pane of glass. I tried to focus on work, on anything else, but every time I lifted my head, something about the room felt off. The wallpaper seemed darker, the light dimmer, the sounds outside muffled, unnatural. It was as if the world was slowly curling in on itself. At exactly 3 a.m., the phone rang. I answered half asleep, but the voice on the other end snapped me awake. It was hoarse, almost broken, like someone hadn't used their voice in years. "Don't open the door," it rasped. "Never open the door. They're watching." Before I could speak, the call cut off. Silence filled the room like smoke. I turned my head toward the bathroom, toward the mirror, and felt my blood freeze. The bathroom door was ajar. I know I closed it. That was the first time I truly thought, I am not alone in this room. The next day, I went to the front desk. I wanted answers, or at least some reassurance that I wasn't losing my mind. The woman at the counter was friendly, until I mentioned my room number. "Room 313? She asked, voice dropping. I nodded. Her smile faded. Her skin turned pale. She looked behind her shoulder, as if checking if someone was listening. "That room isn't usually available. Not anymore." "Why?" She hesitated. 3 years ago, a man stayed there, just like you. He never checked out, vanished. Police found his belongings, but no body." She leaned in closer, barely above a whisper. "The housekeeper who entered after, she said she saw him. Not in the room, in the mirror, standing behind her." She fell silent, then added, "If you're still staying there, never look into the mirror at midnight, not even by accident." I was supposed to check out the next morning, but something inside me pulled me back. Not curiosity, something deeper, heavier, like a weight in my chest whispering, "Stay, witness the truth." That night I sat in front of the mirror with my phone recording. Midnight crept closer. Each second slowed. My reflection sat still, identical, until it blinked. I didn't. I froze. Then my reflection smiled. I did not. Darkness consumed the room. The light didn't just go out, it was devoured. I couldn't see, but I felt it, the presence, the cold breath against my neck, fingers brushing my shoulder. The air grew thick, like syrup. I ran for the door, locked. The window sealed. Panic clawed at my throat. And then, from the mirror, from the black, I heard my own voice, but warped, stretched like a tape slowed down. "You've seen me now. That means you're mine. You're what I was. A reflection." I woke on the floor, drenched in sweat. The mirror was shattered, but from the inside, as if something had broken out. I left the hotel before the sun rose, moved to another state, deleted all photos of the room, burned the clothes I wore that night. But every night, exactly at 3 a.m., my phone turns on by itself. The camera opens, and I see myself, except the reflection blinks, smiles, moves, even when I sit perfectly still. I smashed every mirror I owned, stopped using screens, but it still finds me, in the reflection of water, in dark windows, in strangers' eyes. You might think this is a ghost story, or maybe a symptom of a mind unraveling. But if you ever stay in room 313, don't look in the mirror at midnight. Not even once. Not even by accident. Because once you do, you'll never be sure which one of you is real.